Welcome to the short midweek devotion of the Littleton United Methodist Church. This week's video comes from the woodlands of Schuyler County, Illinois. A number of years ago, I was a guest presenter at a college observing night that was open to the public to look at some sort of astronomical event that was once in a lifetime. I don't remember what it was. It seems like all the astronomical events are once in a lifetime. And I had a number of telescopes set out in that lawn, enough of them that I couldn't handle them myself, so I had to have help. So a young physics professor, or physics instructor from the college came and helped me with running some of the telescopes. And during the course of the night, he looked over some of my pictures, and one he just found particularly amusing. It was the picture of a full moon coming up behind a church steeple. And he just saw so much of a message in that. It was a juxtaposition of science and superstition, and he just thought it was kind of funny to see those two in the same realm. No, it seems like a lot of people don't think science and faith can work together. That can make it really hard on a young Christian who was going away to college. I remember when I went away to college, I was a young Christian, had been a Christian maybe a couple of years, went into college. I thought I had my faith kind of figured out. Some of my professors were atheists and just liked shredding my faith, I guess. They had more intellectual horsepower in their tanks than I did. I mean, I was just a college freshman. Really didn't know how to stand up to some of the arguments that I'd been hearing, and found it threatening and confusing. Especially in today's society. Now, that was a number of decades ago that I went to school, but in today's society, the dialogue is so much more in the open of putting down Christianity, putting down faith as being superstitious, mythological, and whoever controls the dialogue eventually controls the minds, the thoughts, the ideas of the civilization. And the church is not controlling the dialogue today. So there are probably a lot of young Christians that have a faith, but they don't know what to do with it, might be sometimes ashamed of it, or may just divorce the idea of rational thought and scientific thought from their faith, thinking the two aren't compatible. If that is a situation maybe no one, maybe someone that's listening to me wrestles with, I want to give you a couple of ideas. I want to give you an illustration from Socrates. Socrates says if you have an idea that is very important to you, like a statue, and you put it on a tall Greek pedestal, which I don't have a tall Greek pedestal here. I have a couple of bricks. But if you imagine this is an ancient Greek masterpiece on a real tall Greek stand, that it's kind of wobbly. And if you have beliefs, but you can't back them up with anything, he calls that just real opinions, not knowledge. And it's likely that you may come against someone who challenges your belief and, whoa, topple over. Let's start with your own spiritual experience. Socrates would say it's like tying a rope onto a statue. Now, I know that this is more like a noose around poor old Francis's neck. It's not good. Do not go home. Do not tie a rope around Francis's neck. It's not a good way to treat Francis. But it's what I've got with me right now. And so you put this in and you anchor it like so. And the statue is just a little more secure. Now, what have you said? You have said, I have had a spiritual experience. I know that it was real. I know that God is real because I have witnessed God's working in this world and in my life. And I'll hang on to that. Now, can you be wrong? Sure. Of course you can be wrong. I mean, people delude themselves all the time. But it adds a bit of strength. Let's say you know in your heart that there is a God. But you're still challenged by those around you. What happens if you meet someone else who is incredibly intelligent and has thought through that question already, and their faith is not so shakeable as yours, and they can answer a lot of your questions? Now, that happened to me several times in my life. I think the first time I transferred from one college to another, and my faith was sort of confused, though I was hanging on to it, and I met some professors whose, their intelligence, their scholarship was beyond anything that I'd come in contact with before, and they were solid in their faith. And the questions that I wrestled with did not upset them. And that gave me so much comfort. I remember many years later, I was invited back to a college to give a presentation on astrophotography and help with some students' labs. And that weekend, they were doing some kind of big festive thing. And Dr. Robert Joseph the late Dr. Robert Joseph from Hawaii, who was an incredibly gifted cosmologist and a person of faith, was the guest speaker. And the physics department invited me to sit up on the front row and listen to this and meet and talk with him afterwards. And it just added so much to my faith to know that there are people there who are rational, intelligent people that have a strong faith, that are theists. By now, you obviously can see that I don't have the time to just keep on going with these, but I added 4 more here. These are Thomas Aquinas' proofs for the existence of God. Now, do they prove that there's a God? No. You can't prove there is a God any more than an atheist can prove there is not a God. Because if we could put God under a microscope and test him like the environment, in the first place, he wouldn't be God. In the second place, we'd mess him up the same way we messed up the environment. But these proofs for the existence of God by Thomas Aquinas are evidences. It's way out there. That belief in God is rational. The first mover. The uncaused cause. Intelligent design. That must exist before anything else can exist. All these things. I did a video on these back a number of months ago. And you can also look them up on YouTube. Okay, I have a couple more here. This is Anselm's ontological proof for the existence of God, which is probably carries a little more weight than Thomas Aquinas' views in a lot of circles. There are modern versions of it that are perhaps even carry more weight with me. So I might have one for modern ontological views for the existence of God. Let's see if I can put this on. I'll put this one in the back again. Needs to be more back here. And I'm nearly out of pegs. But I thought in addition to these, now some of these we've talked about before, you can look up, but I think, what about just the bare idea that virtually everyone, in virtually every civilization, that we actually have writings and understandings of, other than just speculation, have believed in the existence of some sort of God? How does that happen if there's nothing there for them to hang on to? Or how about, I should maybe have another peg, how about atheists themselves? There are many atheists that are rational, intelligent, very thoughtful people who handle this question seriously, and they may say that they do not believe in God. They may say you don't have to believe in God. They may say that that some of these proofs don't hold up. But not very many will go out on a limb and say that there can't be a God. And those that do sometimes kind of mess around with their facts a little bit. So we'll add that. How about the sacred writings and scripture? How about, we could just add over and over and over. And what is happening is, maybe one of these doesn't hold your fancy, but we could just keep plugging these on all day long until the statue gets pretty solid. And, well, what happens is, a lot of times somebody takes a pair of scissors or something and they trim one of these off and say, oh, I don't believe in that. Or they'll listen to one of these and say, oh, there's another ways to explain that. Or they will start going one by one by one by one and trying to unravel all of them. But in the process of doing that, they are looking past sometimes the obvious and inventing new rules, like maybe I only believe in what's nature. I can't believe in anything that's inspiration. The only window of knowledge I'll look at is one that's under a test tube, even though it takes some experimentation too. And I'm not trying to prove that there is a God. I'm just trying to say that belief in God is not irrational. And if you're around a group of people that are just so dogmatic that there can't be a God, or that you're superstitious if you believe in a God, you might need a new circle. May God bless you and take care of you. Bring us all back safely on Sunday to worship Him together.